Well, hello and welcome to the e-commerce podcast with me, your host, Matt Edmundson. Now, this is a show that's all about helping you to deliver e-commerce wow. And to help us do just that, I'm chatting with my very special guest today, Ian Hammersley from the Hammersley brothers from Smart eBusiness. They've literally written the book, they have, and we're going to be talking about how to scale e-commerce beyond the magic wands and quick fixes. Oh yes. But before we get into that, dear listener, let me encourage you, if you haven't done so already, to sign up to the newsletter on the ECommerce podcast website. Just head over to ECommercePodcast.net and sign up for it, and we'll send you all the show notes, links and all that sort of stuff. All free, all automatically. It's awesome. So make sure you do that. And also, let me give a big shout out to today's show sponsor. You've guessed it, e-commerce cohort. If you would like to know more about our monthly mastermind, our monthly membership, do come and find out more. ECommerceCohort.com. All the information's there. Everything you could possibly want, everything you could possibly want to know is all there. So check it out. Come join us. We'd love to see you in there. And as part of being on the cohort, one of the new features is we live stream the recording of the podcast into cohort. So you can come and listen to our live recordings, like with amazing people like Ian, and you can get to ask your questions too, which is, well, that's just super important, isn't it, really? Because you want to know, you've got your questions. So if you're in cohort, come and ask those. Do join in on the live streams. Now, before we get into the conversation, I was just saying to Ian, actually, before we hit the record button, that it's great to actually finally get to meet. He is a fellow e-commerce podcaster, the Hammersley Brothers podcast, the e-commerce podcast with those guys is definitely worth checking out. But actually, saying to Ian, it's one of those things where the person that connected us is actually Oliver Spock from Sweet Analytics, which is fascinating. Oliver's been on the show. He's been in cohort as well. Legend of a guy. So thanks for the connection, Oliver. And if you want to know more about Sweet Analytics, check out sweetanalytics.com. It is a great little thing going on there. In fact, we're playing around with Sweet Analytics on one of our own e-com businesses as I read this. So there you go. Check it out. Now, let's talk about Ian. Ian is a standout entrepreneur, celebrated as a finalist for the Great British Entrepreneur Awards in 2014. And with a knack for e-commerce, he enthralls global directors of mammoth online businesses through lively keynote speeches, while his best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to E-commerce Growth, showcases his seasoned strategies. Beyond print, Ian co-hosts the buzzing Hammersley Brothers e-commerce podcast, sharing e-commerce gold with thousands worldwide every week. So if you're in e-commerce, go check it out, go subscribe, because it's a great show. I listen, which is important. Ian, great to have you on the show, man. Finally, we get to have this conversation, so I'm super excited. Great that you're here. How are you doing?
Hey, Matt. I'm really good. I remember you recorded all that. I thought you did that like as an aftertake. That's all like a live recording, isn't it? All your intro, your music, and
everything.
I'm impressed.
I don't know if I would be in when you hear it back, but no, we tend to do it all in one take, which is good, and it keeps it all a little bit fresh.
It is easy.
Yeah,
it is easy. No, it's great to be here, Matt. And like you, I've listened to your podcast, and we were just saying before, when I'm pretending to work out at the gym, I put your podcast on.
Is that where you generally listen to podcast?
Sit there, doing my little walk on the treadmill.
Yeah,
listening to your e-commerce. No, it's great. I mean, it is great to be here. I mean, I'm excited to let's get going. I mean, a wonderful briefing as well for our podcast, E-commerce Gold. I mean, that's. It's two old blokes, two old brothers chatting. That's basically what it
is. Two old blokes chatting about e-commerce. But the thing I love about your show is you're in Manchester, right? And your brother Mark, he's in New Zealand.
New Zealand, yeah.
So this is this a case of the brothers we kind of get on, but we don't want to be anywhere near each other? Kind of a thing.
Well, he married a Kiwi. That's what he did. I mean, let's face it. If he wasn't working with my brother, he'd have said bye. You know, when your business partner says, "Oh, I'm going to go and I'm going to move across the other side of the world," He said, "This is a problem."
Yeah.
But we managed to. I mean, interestingly, the podcast came about because we're 12 hours apart. So he was driving into work, and I was driving home from work, and we would start chatting in the car about e-commerce because of obviously what had happened during the day.
Yeah.
And so it was very natural. That's what happened. I mean, we ended up just starting to record those conversations, and that's where the podcast came from, which was, as I say, when you go back to some of the early episodes, you're like, oh dear Lord, this is very low tech. This is not good.
Yeah, it's fair to say that I'm with you, brother. Some of our earlier we were saying before we hit the record button, there are people that reach out to us, and we do. I'm sure that you're the same way, and you love to hear from the audience. And people connect with me either on Instagram usually or LinkedIn, and they say, "Hey, listen, love the show." But every now and again, somebody says to us, "Oh, I'm loving the show. I decided to start at episode 1 and work all my way through," and we're like, "I'm really sorry."
The pain they've gone through.
Those first few episodes, I don't know how you guys did it. I've not heard I should probably go back and listen to your early episodes. But for me,
please don't.
Ian, what I did was I just literally grabbed a microphone and just started spouting about e-commerce. Just anything that I knew, just came out of my mouth. There was a little bit of a structure, but nothing more than that. And I think I got to about episode 19, and I said to the team, I said, "Listen, I'm really bored of the sound of my own voice here." So that's when we made the permanent switch to doing the interview style podcast, which was great. So yeah, it's got better.
Yeah, no, it's fun. I mean, when you start doing your podcast, and I mean, like when the book we wrote, obviously, you put in all this effort, and you think, well, literally no one's listening at all. So you don't really know how it's going to develop, but obviously over time, the ramblings of things start to take shape, and you form the sort of structure as you go. But in some respects, it's the philosophy of business, really, is that you don't let perfection get in the way of good.
That's very true.
And you see people in e-commerce, bringing it back to e-commerce, who try to get everything absolutely perfect. Sit themselves in a dark room somewhere for 6 months and then emerge thinking they've got it cracked. And obviously the market's moved on. And how e-commerce works, it's almost like everything's in beta. You're testing all the time. And eventually, you get better and better. And it's the same thing with everything. The same thing with the podcast, any business really.
That's such a good way of putting it. Always in beta. E-commerce is always in beta, and I like that. I might steal that, Ian. If I do, I'll try and remember to give you the credit. But e-commerce is always in beta, and you're right. We've always got to be learning, always got to be improving, always got to be iterating, and that desire for everything to be just bang on perfect before you do something is quite a common desire. I think, especially with people starting up, right? If they're starting out, or if they're re-platforming their website, everything has to be just so before they do it. And I think you're right. I think by the time you've launched that perfect website, it's out of date, right?
Yeah, and and I think it's a danger throughout every phase of e-commerce, right from starting, but also the ones that are doing, much bigger, 20, 30 million plus. And it's like the danger of shiny distractions. And I think that is the fundamental thing that probably I've spent the most, I've been working in e-commerce now for over 20 years. And the thing that I've focused on or seen is how you navigate through the shiny distractions of e-commerce, because our industry is like, it's not like an accountancy industry or a lawyer, it's solicitors where it's been practicing for hundreds and hundreds of years. E-commerce is literally embryonic, and so and it's moving so fast. It's like doggy years, and so if you spend 6 months doing something on your e-commerce site, and you think it's going to move the needle, and you get it wrong, it doesn't. You've like all your competitors have just accelerated ahead. So I think it's knowing because there's so much you can do, and there's so many things that you can plug in, and so many things you can focus on: average order value, lifetime customer value, widget plugins, all sorts of new tech. And you're like, what and how do I do? And it's knowing it's knowing what to do and having a framework for taking that emotion out of it and coming up with the rationale to actually, have a clear, concise path. And, I think that's generally what most people will struggle with is that scattergun approach that's sort of all over the place. And it's like, I kind of know what I need to do. I don't know what order I need to do it in, because if I get it wrong, it could be loads of money, but also it's time. Time's the biggest worry, isn't it? I think. Yeah. You lose.
Yeah, you're right. It's I like the analogy with the accountancy company, because they, like you say, they've had centuries to perfect, in effect, what they're doing. Yeah. They've got software to help them now, but in effect, it's a ledger with 2 columns, right? So it's what I did accountancy at university. The rules haven't changed. It's just, it is what it is,
We're not going to offend any accountancy firms, do we? But there's no sort of rule book for how you run your e-commerce store, really. No. As opposed to, the ways that the accountancy firms are structured, isn't it? And it's, and it's just, there's an overwhelming danger to do the wrong thing next. And I think the other thing that people find, I think it's to navigate your way through all of that BS, really. Take the example I always give it, take something like website speed, so people think, often people say website speed, you've got to make it faster, you've got to make the website faster. And then people will repeat, it's going to really improve your conversion rate. And it's like, well, will it? Let's think about it logically. Like, if you've got a site that's loading at 3 seconds, on average, sort of like a 3-second page load, which is, pretty average. And if you make a website faster, is it going to magically make people buy? It's like, if you put a self-service checkout, like a fast service, like Tesco checkout in a high-end jewelry store, on the high street, would that magically make people buy? No, of course it wouldn't. But it's like these are the sort of things that are spouted out in our industry, and people go, "Oh, it's going to." There's this magic thing that's going to make people buy, and I think it's a lot of the work that I do with my brother is actually taking it right back down to the basic fundamentals of retail. If our business was a shop, on the high street, how would we lay it out, and why would we lay it out, and how would we get people in and navigating around the store? And it's much simpler to think about it from that perspective. It is.
No, I like that, because actually, for me, e-commerce is still a lot about old school principles. Right. So technology is changing. The way people buy are changing, and we've got to keep up with that. But the principles of how to deal with people, even online, are still pretty timeless, aren't they? And you still want to treat people properly, with respect. There's all these things that you can think about. But we think because it's e-commerce, those rules don't apply. So you do focus in on, I just want to get my site speed. I want to get that magic green number on the Google page speed test. And it's like, but if there's a fundamental problem with how you're connecting with people, how you're talking with people, the language you're using on the website, but I think I know which is the bigger problem to solve,
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I think, in some e-commerce businesses, speed, if you've got people are adding, 10 things to the basket, like a B2B site, the speed does become quite important. But the average lifetime customer value, so the amount of times people shop online in a year in a typical e-commerce business is 1.2 times a year. So they're not coming to the site that often. They're only buying 1.2 times in a year. Yeah. So, for them, they're not buying because the website's fast. They're buying because they believe that we've convinced them that the desirability is there, that we've removed their anxiety, we've positioned the brand right. And actually believe that we're actually going to get the product to us, that we want, and that's why they buy. And I always think, going back to the analogy of e-commerce, it is all about people, and if you're looking at your Google Analytics and you're looking at your sessions, that's people. Okay, apart from a bot, let's not talk about bots, but the sessions, it's people, isn't it? It's actually people coming in, and I always say, well, imagine if your e-commerce store, was a physical shop on the high street, and just close your eyes for a minute and just go, well, imagine if someone, if I could see people coming into the shop, and I might get people who go over to a bunch of shelves and put something in the basket, and then drop the basket on the floor and walk out. And you could see this happening, and then maybe some people would go over to the till, and they're about to buy, and then they just leave the basket on the floor and then run out of the shop. Or there were some people that were just about to put the credit card on the contact list, and they just abandon, and then you end up like with all these empty baskets all over the shop, and you'd have some people that would come in the shop and just walk out the door, and this is how we break down the conversion rate, because it's like, well, how many people add to basket? On average, it's about 10% should add to basket, and then of those people that add to basket, about 50% of them should go to the checkout.
Yeah.
And then about 85% of them who go to the checkout should actually buy. So if you sort of think about, because if someone says to you, "Oh, get your conversion rate high," you just need to get your conversion rate high. It's like it's completely pointless. It's like saying be more successful, just sell more stuff. It's like it doesn't mean anything. It's really irritating. So you've got to break it down to those things, and I think what we often find as well is that, in fact, true story. There's a business in Manchester, a fashion e-com brand that was pretty big, doing about 20 million, and they wanted to improve they thought to improve their conversion rate, they'd improve the checkout. So let's improve the checkout. And they were obsessed over it. It took them about 6 months and spent a lot of money and time trying to make their checkout really slick, and roll it out after like 6 months of absolute blood, sweat and tears.
Yeah.
And nothing happened. Nothing happened. Like, it was no improvement to checkout whatsoever. No improvement to conversion rate. Like, the drop off was identical. There was no change at all. And when you look back and you go, well, obviously there wasn't going to be any change, because their checkout to order stat was already at 92%. The average is 84. So you're like, you're already way higher than average. But guess what's low? Their add to basket stat was less than 4%. So they've got less than 4% of people are adding to basket. And you're like, well, what? That's where you should spend your time.
Yeah.
At which then they did subsequently spend the time, and they put a little bit of effort in there, and they got the add to basket up to about 6%, which was like revolutionary. I mean, they massively increased the conversion rate. And I think they added like a couple of million quid, just by. And if they'd started looking at how many add to basket, how many go from basket to checkout, and they looked, they see where the opportunity is, and it's, simple stuff like that. Once you understand that, you go, oh, well, that makes sense. Why are we faffing around? And the same thing about if it was a physical store. If you had a physical shop, you'd be like faffing around with the wallpaper behind the checkout, because you think, well, that's going to make people check out better. Well, actually, it'd be far better to look at the fact that no one can find your bloody products in the first place. All those kind of things. Anyway, I'm rambling.
No, this is all good stuff, and I'm busy taking notes in because all very helpful. What sort of things then, if we go through this? Going back to the example of the company, their add to basket rate was 4%. Work on that. Yeah. They increased it by 50% to 6%. What sort of things did they do, or would you recommend people do if they're struggling there? How do we increase our add to basket rate?
Yeah. So that particular business actually was very typical of a lot of e-com businesses now. That if you break it down, so their add to basket was 4%, right? So for them, we'd probably say, the average order value was about £80, something like that. Yeah. So we'd say, okay, let's try and get your add to basket up. Let's try and really focus on it. So somebody like that, maybe about 8%. And basically, you have if your add to basket is low, you have to look at where they're landing. So now the average amount of people that land on the product page, about 60% of a normal e-com business land on the product page. So they don't go through the home. Yeah. Like 20% is home, 20% is category, and then 60% is product. So normally, And so the product page is the new landing page. And then you look at the fact that well, how much was mobile, how much was desktop? And this particular business, like 75% was mobile. And so you're like, okay, so they're all landing on the product page and they're all on mobile.
Yeah.
And so you think, well, that's where we need to start. And then you look at, well, what are the most popular products? And like, there's no, the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
Like there's always the best sellers. And you go, well, these are the products they're landing on. So you then start to know exactly where they're landing, what device that they're on, and obviously then you optimize that because you can't do everything. This particular business had, I think, 1,000 or 2 products, a couple of thousand products. So you're like, well, actually, the where we should optimize is where we're spending the money. Like and the reason why they're landing on the product page on mobile is because that's where the ads are. Because that's where the customers were. Because they're looking at, they're on Google Shopping and they're on Facebook product ads or Meta product ads. Now it was Facebook when we looked at it, but you get a good idea. And basically, the next thing to look at was that their bounce rate was really high. So people are landing on the product page on the mobile, and the bounce rate was like about 85%.
Yeah. Now
the average bounce rate for a product page should be less than 60%. So this particular business had a bounce rate of 80. So, so there's the other, benchmark is if the bounce rate for the homepage should be less than 25, bounce rate for a collection or category page should be less than 50, and a bounce rate for a product page should be less than 60. So you kind of go, well, normally when the add to basket's low, it's because there's a bounce rate problem. So you go, well, okay, if I get the bounce rate lower, we should get an increase add to basket. And if the add to basket's higher, we should get an increase of conversion rate. And if the conversion rate's high, we should get an increase of ROAS, which means we could then pull the traffic lever again. So it's following the route up rather than having this generic, let's do everything. Because essentially in e-commerce, I think if you do everything, you don't do anything.
Yeah.
Because it's just a waste of time often, and it can be expensive. So essentially with that particular business, it was product page mobile. And what you're really doing then is you're looking at like, okay, are we positioning the business correctly? Like, do people know who we are? Do we pass the busy restaurant test, which is something that Mark and I came up with, which was the positioning. And sometimes people put their positioning on the homepage, like we're the UK's leading such and such with 50,000 amazing reviews, and then they don't put that on the product page, and then no one ever sees it because they're landing on the product page. So they're like the busy restaurant test. I'll just tell you a story really quick.
Go for it,
if I may. I don't want to go down too many rabbit holes, and you have to bring me back, Matt. And problems with you and me, we'll just end up chatting here for days. But the busy restaurant test is the idea that let's say you're in somewhere like Paris or London or something, and you're with your partner and you're hungry. You're really hungry, and you're walking down the high street. And you need to find somewhere to eat quickly, and you see 2 restaurants. And you see, one restaurant is nicely full, nicely busy, and the other restaurant is completely empty. And you say, well, which restaurant do you want to eat in? And you say, well, we'll go to the busy one. Why? Well, because there's people in it, so there's evidence that it must be good. And you're like, at this point, you don't even know if the food's any good. You can't even see the food. You can't even see the menu, but you see people in it, and you go, well, it must be good. And there's loads of psychological examples of how that technique works, and for an e-commerce site, because the problem is in e-com, you have this like nanosecond of time where people make the decision whether or not they should stick around. Am I going to find what I want in this e-commerce store? Should I bother to invest my time here? Because the overwhelming temptation is to go back into Google or Instagram or wherever the hell you were and try and find it from somewhere else, because you can, it's not like being in a town on the high street where, you're the only, shop that sells hammers in this town. Yeah. And that's where like the e-commerce change. And I think, you have to position it because, you might be one of 300 shops in the town selling the same hammer or whatever you're selling. Online is it's like walking into the Trafford Centre. We have the big shopping mall up near me in Manchester called the Trafford Centre. And there's about 300 shops in there. And I always say to people, it's like, imagine if you walked into the Trafford Centre and there's 300 shops in there, all selling the same stuff that you're selling. And you're like, as a customer, why would you buy from you? You know, how are you going to position people to come in and buy? And that's a really difficult question for a lot of e-com businesses, because they often say things like, oh, well, we just got great customer service. You know, we're a family business, we've got great customer service, we really look after your customers. And then you go to the website and you're like, well, there's no evidence you are what you say you are. Like, there's no, you're not even saying that. And, you know, so, you know, things like trust and credibility is a big one, you know, and the only way to demonstrate trust and credibility is to prove it, to actually show it. Like, you can't say, we're great. You have to show evidence of trust from customers and credibility often from a third party. Anyway, I'm rambling a lot now.
No, Matt, it's good. It's good. I'm kind of curious, you know, as you're talking, who do you think is doing this well at the moment, positioning their brand well, showing that sort of trusted credibility that you're talking about?
Yeah, there's a couple of examples that I always throw out there. One of them is Spoke London. So there's a business called Spoke London. It's a UK business selling men's chinos. And what we often find is that the positioning of an e-com business, it should be based on two things, like what people want and what they don't want. So, and the way to find this, so that Spoke London, you know, if you're buying, they sell men's trousers online, right? If you ever bought trousers online, particularly trousers, and particularly for men, but the thing that we want is we want it to fit. Like we're anxious about, for what happens if it doesn't fit me. Like that, you know, that's what we're really bothered about. So their positioning is they're focused on the biggest pain or anxiety when you're buying something online, trousers, which is fit. Will it fit me? And their whole strapline is, you know, the best. We know fit like no one else. We've got over 400 custom fit sizes, and so that's their positioning. And then they back that up with a quote from the Telegraph saying, the ultimate go-to best fitting chino we've ever tried. So they've got that third party, and then their reviews from their customers are all talking about fit. Oh my God, you know, I never thought I'd find a pair of chinos that would fit me as well. And like, you know, and it's just repeated. So they've positioned it on fit, and then they're backing it up with third party credibility and evidence from customers. And to be honest, like 50% of e-commerce is about getting that right, particularly now. And they did it, and each industry in e-com, there's always a different like anxiety. So take something like gifting. You know, the gifting isn't obviously about fit, but it's gifting anxiety is, will it arrive on time for the event, like for the birthday? Is it going to arrive? Like so, and then the second one is, well, what happens if they don't like it? And so, and then you go, well, we know what they're bothered about, because we can see it because that's what the negative reviews are. We always we do something called the anxiety test. So you always look at the reviews. Oh, that's brilliant. Like all your competitors, like what people love about them and they hate about them. It's all online. Like go on Trustpilot. Like no one does this. We love doing it. We love review.
I'm with you. I spend a lot of time looking at reviews from other sites.
It's so good. And then essentially, like you go back like gifting, and you say, well, are we addressing the biggest anxieties? You know, which is, will it arrive on time, and what happens if they don't like it? And often, like the answer is no. Like you're not saying when it's going to arrive, guaranteed delivery. You know, next day or super fast dispatch, or you know, next day delivery in stock. Like you're not even saying if it's in stock sometimes. And then the second one is what happens if they don't like it? But you just put 60-day returns. Like don't put a bloody 14-day or even a 30. It's not enough. If you're buying a gift for somebody, you want an extended returns. No one bloody returns gifts anyway, so it's like free money. So you have to put this, and you have to put it in the place that people see it. Like you wouldn't put it in the terms and conditions. You got to put it next to the outer basket so people actually see it. And once you kind of do that review mining, your positioning becomes quite clear. And the job to be done for gifting is the emotional reaction that your gift recipient's going to receive. Like, so if I gave you a gift I'm going to be like, oh my God, Matt's going to love this. I can't wait to see his face when I give it to him. That's the job to be done. That's what I'm buying.
Yeah.
And so the marketing then on social should technically be little videos of people going, oh my God, this is amazing. Thank you so much. Like, because that's the job to be done. So it's just understanding, like, I think psychologically where people are when they're starting that decision and what they want. And we've done loads of bloody, work around if it's a problem. Like if you're selling a replacement fridge hinge, it's very different to selling a beautiful cashmere scarf for £500. Like, there's a different. The needs are different, aren't they? So you have to. Is it desirability? Is it problem solving? Is it convincibility? But it's to be honest, it's the same method. It's just you have to understand psychologically what don't they want, which is the anxieties. How can we get rid of all those anxieties? And what do they want, which is desirability or convincibility? And then you back it up with evidence that you've done.
No, great. And everyone will be checking out Spoke London now. I've actually been on their website, and they send me, or they used to send me, I've not sent me, maybe because I've moved actually and not told them my new address, but they send those little sort of well done sort of mini catalogue type things, the little paper things, which are quite lovely. So I know the site that you mean, and I fully appreciate, it's a great example. Were you involved with that, or did you just think it's a good example?
No. I'd like to say I think we did have a chat with them once, but I mean, like most of our great ideas, we see somebody who's done a good job, and we then we go, "Oh, that was clever."
I like that. We do that a lot. We do that a lot. And like you, I do a lot of mining through reviews. So not only our reviews, but the reviews of competitors, the reviews of similar products, which might not even be a direct competitor. And you're always looking for the common statements or the common questions that people have, or the common solve this problem, that sort of information, aren't you? And I'm always surprised at how many people don't do it, but it is just a gold mine of information.
It is literally a gold mine. And I think I actually call it like the gold nuggets of e-commerce, because you always find these really great reviews. So we did it for a big cookware retailer in the UK, one of the biggest, and we were looking at saucepans, and like they're trying to sell more saucepans, and there was a non-stick saucepan, and you look at and it's like, when I say this, it's so obvious. But like, until you look at the reviews, what they're good, and we looked at like, I mean, we're nerds. We looked at thousands, but one of the reviews, the good reviews, is it says things like it's truly non-stick, and it said there was another one that said it's so easy to clean, even my teenage son can do it.
You're like, there's my marketing strapline.
That's it. That's the job to be done. That's what we want. And the opposite is basically it's hard to clean, and it's a pain, and so what people want, so you know how to position it, and then you know what to back it up. So it's like a gift. Lots of people don't do it, which is a mistake in my opinion.
No, like you, I can't begin to tell you how many headlines I've used because it's a comment written in someone's review. And you just think even ChatGPT couldn't have come up with that. It's just it's a beautiful thing. And we I like that. Even my teenage son could clean it. How to sell out your saucepan range? Just put that in the.
And once you see those reviews, you just know, that's it. And actually, we often find that people will install like the latest like Trustpilot widget or whatever widget, review widget, and they'll just plonk it on and go, "Oh, there you go, I've put my reviews on." And it's like, well, no, because what problem is when you just plonk on like a generic review engine that's pulling through the latest reviews, you end up getting reviews on there that have nothing to do with the job to be done or anxiety. And so for example, for the cookware brand, we would know for that saucepan that people really want to see evidence that it's truly non-stick, and that's what they're bothered about. So if the reviews come through and they go, "Oh, it arrived next day," well, people aren't buying the saucepan because it arrives next day. So we often like to cherry pick the reviews and highlight them and bring them out. And then, that's what you put in your Instagram, Facebook ads, that's what you put in your welcome series, all your emails, that's what you put on the website, all over the place. So you're starting to bring that story and tell that story on throughout everything. And it's, I don't know, this is, I think it's 50% of it is about finding the right positioning and then backing it up with
it is.
Trust and credibility.
It is, because I like, what you're in effect doing is you're talking a language that matters to the customer in a way that they understand, aren't you? And this again goes back to the earlier comment of e-commerce is about old school principles using, in effect, modern technology as a form of delivery, but it's still the same thing. What matters to your client? Talk in a way that matters to them, and you'll be amazed at just doing that simple thing. It's quite an incredible thing. What's your just on a slight tangent here, Ian? Since we're talking about reviews, how let's say I'm a e-com business just starting out. My reviews aren't great in terms of numbers. Yeah. What sort of things can I do to go and get more reviews, do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing to note is actually the biggest thing you have to demonstrate with e-commerce is really evidence that you can, back up your claims. And sometimes the worst thing you can do is actually put, we've got 10 reviews. Yeah. And I always say anything less than 1,000. You know what? In some respects, it can do more harm.
Yeah.
So, if you've got the widget on there, the Trustpilot widget that says, hey, we've got 200 reviews, rated, and it actually makes you look like you're, selling from your bedroom. Sometimes you look. So I actually say hide. You're better off hiding your kind of small review count, and you're better off, coming up with better positioning around, how many products you've sold, or how many customers you've had, or how long you've been trading.
Yeah.
Because it just looks a lot more impressive, and I really don't buy the. I mean, obviously, it depends on who you are and what you're selling, but generally, people are skeptical, and people don't know, because when you're buying on the high street or in a supermarket, shopping arcade, you can see the shop, right? You know that it's there, it's credible. When you're online, people are much more skeptical about, well, who the hell are these guys? Like, are they a guy in his bedroom? Are they a big national brand? So and people don't want to feel that they're going to be let down. So generally hide it, and obviously to try to get more reviews. I mean, really you have to ask for it. I mean, we have some industries tend to get naturally more reviews. We're working with a jigsaw company at the moment, and they're selling jigsaws to probably slightly older demographics. And I think when they email them and say, "Can you give us a review?" I think they go, well, this is part of the process. I've got to do this. So they get loads. I think one's got like 40,000 reviews on Trustpilot. And we're like, wow, holy God, how did you get that? They said, well, just ask for it. Whereas in other industries, the same thing doesn't work quite as well.
No,
they're not bothered. So but it obviously does. You over time it does. It does grow.
Yeah.
One little trick, actually, just in the perspective of us completely learning all the time. Whenever we're working with an e-com brand, there's always something you learn. And one did it the other day, and they said, "Oh, well, before we send the review on Trustpilot or wherever it, whatever review engine it was, we email them personally. We say, hey, welcome to our brand. We're so proud. We're a family business. We really, really want you to have a great experience. So if there's anything that you're not entirely happy with, please let us know and we'll put it right." And they did a video of them, and I think like one of them, like she's holding she's at home, she's holding a baby, and like they get so many emails back saying, "Well, I was going to give you a 1-star review because the postman left it on the doorstep, whatever. But actually, I reach out to you, and then that massively helped them get the 5-star, like, rather than negative reviews, because sometimes you can get the odd negative review, and it is, as an owner, it's quite soul destroying, isn't it? We all
you take it quite personally.
It's
sometimes.
horrible.
No, you do. I remember with Trustpilot, when we don't use Trustpilot anymore, but when we were, one of the problems that we found was, again, it came down to sequencing with the emails, I think, in some respects. But one of the problems we found was people treated Trustpilot like a customer service thing. So it's like, well, my order's not arrived yet, so I'm going to give you a 1-star review, rather than going to customer service. Where's my order? Do you know what I mean? And trying to figure, it's just like, well, I think how we position those reviews, the sequence in which we ask for them is actually quite important. Because I think people do start to say things on there, which is like, well, that's actually a customer service issue. That's not a review issue. A review issue is the product was crap, or the product was great, or a review issue is not, I've not got my tracking number yet. It's just,
exactly.
It's an interesting one, isn't it?
It is unfair. I mean, and I think the only thing really you can do if you get negative reviews, and I agree with you completely about the sequencing, is actually to drown the negative in positive. And sometimes you'll find, like, Facebook, you'll have like some negative reviews on Google or Facebook, and you kind of want to just get them above 4, because people will find a way to make a comment, a decision, and you really just have to try and drown them out and forget about them, actually, and not take them too seriously. Because the problem is, sometimes, obviously we're told as marketers, yes, you have to listen to your customers, but actually, you don't want to listen to possibly Mrs. Miggins, who's saying that the website was hard to use, and you end up putting like a big bloody tick box on the on the checkout that says, do you accept that we may never, like, if you listen to your customer services to, like, in some businesses have actually moved the e-com directors away from the customer service team because they're getting really depressed by listening to the customer. And all I'm saying is that obviously we have to listen to our customers, because we need to make the website better and answer questions. But the negative customers have a disproportionately loud voice.
Yes, they do.
In your ear, and it stops you doing things that are going to encourage growth. Your recruitment offer, your retention offer. You just have to accept that there are going to be some people that moan, but it's you might have had 1,000 customers that are really happy, and one that's then giving you a negative review. And then it's like whole businesses like change their entire strategy off one damn review, and you're like, what are you doing?
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
No, it's I'm with you on that. I think it's one of those things where you, especially if you care about your business, and I appreciate this is not true of everybody, but if you care deeply about the business, you do have a tendency to take those negative reviews to heart. And you take them personally. And I think, very simply, you just look at the review and go, is there honestly anything that we can learn from this, yes or no? And how can we reach out to this person, offline, not in a commentary underneath, this sort of whole conversation plays out in the review. But how do we reach out to them and just talk to these people and just see what's actually going on before we make any crazy decisions,
Yeah, like putting check boxes on the basket page and things like that.
Or just making your terms and conditions so convoluted. That was always something that bothered me a little bit, whenever you call a company up and they go, yeah, but our terms and conditions clearly state the terms and conditions which I never read before. Well, it's not our fault, is it? And you're kind of like, I just wanted you to act like a normal human being, if I'm honest with you. But apparently you can't, because you've wangled your way out of that in your terms and conditions. And it's, I feel like I'm going to get on my soapbox in a minute, Ian, so I probably should have avoid it.
I might. We have our own ecom brands as well, and we always say, look, just give them don't even worry about it. Just give them a refund. I mean, and obviously it depends on your costs and your margins, etc. But generally, just let it go.
Yeah.
Like, just put it down to experience and as part of the, the whole ethos of growing an ecom, like going back to the beta mode. Like, oh, well, that's interesting. That and just generally try and stay to the course and keep going.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm totally with you. Listen, Ian, I'm aware of time, and we are just losing it here. Tell me a little bit about the book. I was fascinated with, because Chloe is also, if you're not aware, dear listener, Chloe does an e-commerce podcast, Chloe Thomas, which is also worth checking out. But Chloe's also written a book, and I remember sitting down with Chloe going, "What on earth possessed you to write a book? Why would you do that?" So I'm going to ask you the same question, Ian. Why and what was that whole journey like?
So the story behind the book, I mean, essentially, my brother and I, we've been in e-commerce for, I mean, we're veterans now. We're like over 25 years, and I think going back, quite early on, and our focus really has been on answering a couple of two basic questions of e-commerce, which is why some e-commerce businesses scale and some don't. Like that was and that still is the question that we set ourselves every day as we continue going. And the book went into that really, well, what are the successful things that e-commerce businesses are doing that are growing, and what are the ones that are stuck or just can't grow? What were they doing? Like, what was consistent about both groups? And that was a bit of an obsession, and it came down to some basic principles which we wrote about in the book. And I think really we wrote the book probably as a bit of fun. Really, didn't think it would be anyone would you think what you're talking about internally is common sense, but it's only because you've been doing it every day you realize actually it's not. But the book was quite a cathartic exercise of it, and it goes through the main KPIs that we look at when we're running our own ecom brands, and we, Mark and I, we're probably looking at like 4 or 5 ecom analytics a day, and we have done for over 20 years. And so through sheer, certainly no intelligence, but through sheer exposure, you get a very, very, like an unrivaled exposure to like thousands, and you then get this sort of this instinctive, and the book really talks about this, and I think the first one is really the maths, which unfortunately we can't get away with. I spoke in London the other week, and at an event, and I told a story that I was practicing for this speech, and I turned to I've got 3 daughters, and I turned to my daughters and I said, "It's all about the maths," and they're like, "No, like it can't be about the maths. Take it back." And I was like, well, there's a big part of an ecom business that it was about, and when we looked at the ones that were scaling and the ones that were getting stuck, a lot of them had the maths on their side. So when I say the maths, like we're really talking about margin, lifetime customer value, and they had it. So and you couldn't call it from the outside. So I think as an ecom professional, if you look at 2 ecom brands, and you go, well, that looks really slick, like really good, like beautiful, really well executed, great team, great marketing, great positioning, really nice. And the other one over here, perhaps a little bit rough and ready. But you cannot on that basis see which one's going to scale. Like you have to go inside, and the numbers are the key. So story we talk about in the book is there's 2, the one on the left that looks super slick that you think is going to scale, actually has low margin, like 30% margin, which is pretty tight, an average order value of £30, and a lifetime customer value of 1. It's a one product gift company, and you're like, that's difficult because you've got so little room to play with when it comes to advertising. It's so hard to try to, because you basically we're at the mercy of the gorillas, which are Google and Meta. Like they're the ones that we've got to play. We can't say to Google, we only want to give you 50p for a company. They're literally going to dictate how much they will allow you to recruit a customer for. So we've got to work with them. And the other side, that other one is a supplement type business, a collagen type business, and they've got margin of like 60%, average order value of £50, and people buy 6 times a year.
Yeah. So
over a year, that customer's worth whatever, that's like, £200-300. So you can see how much easier it is to scale that one, because you can really aggressively pull that traffic lever and go for a very low new customer ROAS. Whereas the one on the left, that gifting company, you're like, oh my, it's so difficult.
Yeah, super tough.
Super tough. So the maths, we talk about the maths a lot. I mean, it's basically the KPIs that we go through when we're running our own business. Like and we said unexpected KPIs, but I mean, they're not that unexpected. I mean, they're fairly logical ones, but it's a lot of it's telling stories of how we've put context to these KPIs, like how you improve the add to basket rate, the bounce rate, and how it all comes together. But we know at the end of the day, we wrote the book because we enjoyed writing it. Didn't really think it would be a bestseller, but it shock horror. People want to hear two boys from Stoke chatting about ecom.
I'm always amazed how many people listen to this podcast. Yeah, I'm a boy from Derby, so not just down the road.
Oh, we're pretty close.
And so, I mean, I'm not in Derby now, but you do kind of think, people actually are really interested in this stuff, which is always quite humbling.
It is humbling.
But it's lovely. So the book is called The Ultimate Guide to E-Commerce Growth: 7 Unexpected KPIs to Scale an E-Commerce Shop to £10 million plus. Do you? I'm just looking at the picture on your website here. Do you change the cover for the US market? So $10 million plus, or do you just leave the little pound symbol in?
I mean, a sensible company would, yes. I'd be lying if we were that attentive.
Fair enough. That's brilliant.
The answer is no. I tell you what's funny about the American market is like a small little niche ecom brand in the UK, that might be doing like a couple of million, something like that. In America, that little small niche, is like 10 million.
Yeah.
And beyond, and just the market is so much bigger.
Yeah, it is.
The potential. I mean, it's hard. It's a competitive market. It's harder to crack. But boy, if you can actually get in and start going, getting some of that market in America, it's huge. We had a one e-commerce chat we were talking to the other day, and he's selling like the ends of hose pipe ends. Like, okay, hoses and little ends.
Yeah.
And you kind of think, oh, this is a tiny. In the UK, it would be like, I don't know, maybe £600,000 turnover, maybe that. He's doing 5 million, and his nearest competitor, this is purely online, nearest competitor online is doing 60 million, and the next one is doing 100 million online, selling these little ends of these hose pipes. So we're like, whoa.
Where do I buy those from? I'm going to sell those. No, it's interesting what you say about the States. I mean, our first our beauty business, which we sold, we weren't allowed to sell to the States. We were only allowed to sell in Europe. Terms and conditions of the suppliers, we can talk about that another day. But our current site at the moment, our supplement brand, we distribute to the States, and it is a massive market for us now. Growing at a huge rate, and it's interesting. Australia is also a really interesting market, sort of very up and coming, as is New Zealand, where Brother Mark is.
The problem is in New Zealand there's only
4 people. Yeah. 300,000 sheep. Yeah.
It's like we're laughing because in New Zealand, in order to have a big ecom brand in New Zealand, you literally have to get the entire New Zealand population to buy from you.
Yes, you do.
Because there's not enough people. So but likewise, actually, competition's a lot less. Like there isn't as many people there because of the consumers.
That's
not many.
True. Very true. It's an interesting place for. I mean, we do a lot of business in New Zealand, to be fair.
Cool.
So, which is great. So, but no, interesting. Listen, Ian. I know we're just getting warmed up. But if people want to reach out to you, if they want to connect, find out more about you, what you guys are doing, the podcast, the book, because you guys do a membership type thing as well. Where do people go find out more about that?
Yeah, well, the route most people find us through is either the masses of Facebook advertising that we ram down people's throat. No, essentially, if you Google Hammersley Brothers, you'll see us in various forms. I mean, we've got the site. I mean, the podcast is a good, gentle place to listen to us. But the Hammersley Brothers website is where we go, and essentially you can join one of the courses there. And there's various different courses, some of them trying to get to different levels. Essentially, get to 2 million. Get beyond that. There's one that gets to 50K a month. Trying to focus on the right levels. But yeah, HammersleyBrothers.com is probably the best place to go.
Fantastic. We will, of course, link to that in the show notes as well, which if you're subscribed to the newsletter will be coming their way to your inbox. Otherwise, sign up to the newsletter and we'll send it to you automatically. Mark, listen, Ian, I was thinking of your brother in New Zealand. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man, and genuinely love the conversation, loved your insight, love the down-to-earth Stoke manner. That's quite nice. Yeah. Very refreshing. And I appreciate it, Matt. Honestly, genuinely loved it, and we'll have to do it again.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.
It's great.
Cheers.
Great. Thank you for coming on. So what a great conversation. Huge thanks again to Ian for joining me today. Also, a big shout out to today's show sponsor, the e-commerce cohort. Remember to check out the e-commerce cohort at ecommercecohort.com. And be sure to follow the e-commerce podcast wherever you get your podcasts from, because we've got some more great conversations lined up. And I don't want you to miss any of them. No. And of course, if no one has told you yet today, let me be the first person to tell you, you are awesome. Yes, you are. Created awesome. It's just a burden you have to bear. Ian's got to bear it. I've got to bear it. You've got to bear it as well. The e-commerce podcast is produced by Aurea Media. You can find our entire archive of episodes on your favorite podcast app. The team that makes this show possible is the wonderful Sadaf Bainon and Tanya Hutzlak. Our theme song was written by Josh Edmundson. And as I mentioned, if you would like to read the transcript or show notes, head over to the website ECommercePodcast.net. So that's it from me. That's it from Ian. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.